Okay, so today we're diving into a really dramatic perspective on everything that's been happening in Iran. We're looking at an analysis from the YouTube, and their take, it's that we're not just seeing protests. No, they're saying this is a meticulously planned international operation, literally designed to tear the nation apart from the inside out.
So the whole thing really boils down to this one question: what is actually happening on the streets of Iran? The source is basically suggesting that the images we all see, the protests and the crowds, are just the tip of the iceberg. That underneath it all, there's a much deeper, much more calculated geopolitical game being played.
And here it is, the absolute heart of their argument, that the turmoil we're witnessing isn't some spontaneous uprising that just bubbled up. Not at all. It's being presented as a carefully engineered plot, orchestrated by outside powers who want to destabilize Iran.
Right. So to really get a grip on this argument, we first have to look at how the source describes the situation on the ground. The picture it paints is of something completely unprecedented and incredibly dangerous for the country.
And to really set the tone, get a load of this quote from the source. It basically says this whole thing is completely out of control and that Iran has literally never seen anything like this before in its entire history. That's a pretty bold claim.
The source really focuses on these specific visuals from the ground. Huge, unprecedented crowds of young people, men and women, protesting deep into the night. This is the scene that it keeps coming back to, describing it over and over again as totally out of control.
Okay, so this all leads us right back to the central claim, that these protests aren't some organic movement from the people, but are actually a manufactured crisis.
In this slide, this is where you really see the two competing narratives clash. The source draws this very sharp line in the sand. On one side, you have a genuine domestic protest, but on the other, you have what it calls a sponsored uprising, which it claims is being orchestrated by the US and Israel.
So what's the proof, right? Well, according to the source, you have to look at these specific clues. It points to things like Israeli flags showing up at solidarity protests outside of Iran, the use of old monarchist flags, and this is a big one, the fact that protests are happening right near really sensitive defense sites. It claims this is all proof of foreign direction and intelligence gathering.
Now, according to this analysis, all that chaos on the streets, that's not even the main event. It's seen as just the setup, the necessary first act for a massive, pre-planned military assault on the country.
And get this, the source gives a crazy specific number. It claims a force of 180 aircraft is already assembled, sitting there, just ready to attack Iran at a moment's notice.
So what kind of firepower are we talking about? Well, this slide breaks it down. We're talking F-35s, F-18s, B-2 stealth bombers, Reaper drones, and even aircraft carriers. The source is painting a picture of a full-scale, high-tech air war.
Okay, now this next part is, well, it's a little confusing, I'll admit, but it's fascinating. The source claims this isn't even a new plan, but a repeat of something it says happened in June of 2025. Now, whether that's a typo or some kind of prediction is unclear, but the point it makes is that bunker-buster bombs were allegedly used against Iran's nuclear sites in a similar way.
So how would an attack like this actually play out? Well, the source doesn't just predict an attack, it lays out what it calls the ideal situation for the US and Israel to launch it.
And here's the alleged playbook, a four-step plan. Step 1, you fuel the protests on the inside. Step 2, you use agents embedded in those crowds to gather intel. Step 3, you wait for the internal fighting to create a total power vacuum, and then, only then, as the final step, do the foreign military forces move in.
And this quote right here, it just sums up the whole alleged strategy perfectly. It's not about a simple invasion. It's about using internal division as the trigger, as the perfect excuse for foreign intervention.
And if you thought that wasn't complicated enough, hold on. The source claims there's a fifth column, basically traitors inside Iran's own military and government who are secretly working with foreign powers. They're just waiting for the government to fall so they can help tear it down from the inside.
Okay, so let's say this all happens. What's the end game? Well, according to this source, the consequences would be catastrophic, triggering a chain reaction that goes way beyond Iran's borders. And this timeline here, it really lays out what the source sees as a global domino effect. It argues that if Iran falls, first, Russia's key military supply lines get cut. Then other nations like Qatar, Turkey, Algeria, and Tunisia are next on the chopping block, leading to massive instability across the entire region.
And what about inside Iran itself? Well, the source predicts something way beyond just a change in government.
It describes a complete cultural takedown, a shift to a secular European model, the destruction of its advanced missile programs, and a deliberate stop to all its scientific progress. The alleged goal? To make sure Iran can never, ever become a powerful nation again.
So, at the end of the day, that's what we're left with, right? That big question. Is this a prophetic warning about what's to come, or is it a very elaborate geopolitical conspiracy theory? Either way, the story this source tells is of a nation and an entire region standing right on the edge of a conflict that could change everything.